The few days have passed since the confrontation at Stein's hut. The town has been kind of under lockdown. The warriors have returned from their sacking and burning of what could generously be called the Fenfolk's town. And they returned like laden with goods and a great many thralls. And there's been a pretty like excited atmosphere in the town. The warriors at least feel like relieved, feel like vindicated. They won a great victory as far as they're concerned. But it's Woden's Day, and you know that, Skjalmod, because Skjalvik wakes you. It's the only day he ever really wakes you. You're an early riser anyway, but on Woden's Day, he wakes you at a stupid hour always. And you can still hear the chorus of the dawn and the birds. It's unusually busy today, Lord. Best we get ready.
Agreed. Thank you, Skjalvik.
So, like, limp his way to the hall, and he'll follow sometime later. Make yourself ready. Some of the warriors are like arrayed in their finest. There's no sign of Naki. He hasn't been really seen at all in the last few days. And the doors are opened, and the people start to pour. Is Gunnar, warrior. See that he's maybe not slept in a few days, or at least not. And there's some sort of look that maybe he has been drinking. But I have to leave for the 13 weeks as discussed. I'll swear an oath to you in blood, here and now, that if I cannot find the man in those 13 weeks, that I'll return to you, and I'll serve you for 13 years.
There's no need for blood, Gunnar. Your word is iron to me. As I've said, so shall it be. I give you leave from my service.
I will return, Lord, when I find him.
And while you are gone, we will care for your wife.
Thank you. I'll go and make preparations. And he like nods, and we'll leave the hall. He sees like worried looks in some of the men's faces at this like mission of vengeance, though most of them understand why he's doing it. Next comes Ira, who runs the, I guess what you could call a tavern in Skjalvik. It's really just like one of the larger longhouses, and it's kind of served as a booze hall here for a long time. She's like an older woman with graying hair. And she like makes her way to the front. She looks a little bit nervous, though she has that sort of confidence that a lifetime of experience brings. Jarl, I've run the beer hall here all my life. And when my husband died, everyone agreed it should be me that continues to run it. I have 2 sons, raised and gone, off to find their fortunes, and I run the place alone now. Now, they're in my hall every night, who drink and spill and sing and break chairs, tankards, and they spill and they vomit and they piss. Lord, I can tolerate that. Warriors have needs, I understand that. With the influx of the thralls, last night during the revelry, one of the young men had his way with one of the thralls on one of the tables, as men jeered and cheered. There are girls that work in my beer hall, and it's not right that they should see such things. And I don't know what the answer is, Lord. That's your decision, but it cannot go on.
It is your beer hall and your law. Why not eject these unruly men?
How can I? I have no big warriors. I'm just an old woman. There are girls that serve there.
Who are these men?
I should name them, Lord?
You must.
One of them was Jorg. He had black hair and a scar across his cheek. He was the one who did most of the revelry. He's the one who took the girl on the table. And there were maybe 5 or 6 others that cheered. I don't know their names, but I can find out.
And is Jörg familiar to me?
Yeah, you would know him. He's one of your boys from way back when in Concastellan. He's young, but he's been with you for a couple of years.
Jörg is young, and like all of us, prone to mistake. I will speak to him on your behalf and his friends. This behavior is not befitting of a huskarl. Such things as you've described are best left for the home and the hearth, not for the public drinking hall. Yes, I thank you for bringing this to me, Ira.
It's not right. Those girls are young and they shouldn't see it.
Indeed, I am agreed. And I'll gesture over to one of the warriors, like in attendance today, nearby the dais, to bring over some of the rings pilfered from the fenfolk. And I'll say, I'll hand a couple over to her to compensate you, and means to hire bouncers if you think it necessary.
Yeah, she looks surprised, but pleased, and she nods. Thank you, Lord.
I'm sure, Ira, you'll forgive Jörg and his men.
Well, yes, warriors are warriors. They have needs. Like, I understand that. It's not appropriate.
Agreed. I thank you for your honesty and for your rationality.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lord. And she'll nod her head and begin to leave. There's a stream of people who come up with little bits here and there. There's kind of a lot of chatter about the worry about where all the thralls are going to go. Now that many of the warriors have taken thralls as theirs, they need places to call their own, as opposed to just swilling in the various halls. And there's some kind of chatter about that from some of the citizens and things like that. But no one kind of goes ballistic about it. It's just brought up once or twice. Go ahead.
I was just going to say to those people voicing those concerns, I think it's valid, and we have more than enough wood from the wild and stone from our friends. I'll say publicly, though inward it rankles me to say that of Flokison to the south, and water and food for these new households that needs must be built. Those who are without house or their own home, especially adults with thralls, I'll allow them all rights to cut wood after a certain proximity from the town and claim unclaimed land as their own, of an appropriate size to be organised by Chulric and entered into the annals. Furthermore, a portion of stone from Flokison to each person who can craft it and build for themselves a home. And if I think there's not enough land around Skjalvik for that, then I'll kind of... Oh, you go.
And you think there's plenty? There's a lot of... you'd have to do a bit of reclaiming here and there, and maybe throwing some muck into the water and stuff to create some sort of land bridges and stuff. But you think with a bit of work, it's doable?
Yeah, I'll try and gauge. I'm assuming that the people who are speaking about this are not representative of everyone, but I'll try and gauge their response to that after I've kind of given that order, to see if that will satisfy them, or if they kind of take it more as oh, great, well, he's just telling us to fix it ourselves. I kind of want to gauge if it's going to leave them unhappier than before I made that proclamation. Would that be an insight?
Yeah.
13.
So it's hard to know. You think that overall they think that's a solution, at least. It's something. It's not oh, wait and see what happens. There's action being taken. And one or two of them will comment that at least like those warriors who have been like swilling and drinking and whoring or whatever will at least be like building and setting themselves to like the task of their own land. So overall, you think they're probably pleased.
Yeah, if anything, it will just make less of the idle hands in the wake of like the fenfolk battle. So gauging that, I'll kind of, just by my demeanor and facial expression, give the sense that that's all I'll say on that subject to those petitioners for now.
Luta will arrive, who's kind of showed you here the first day that you arrived. He's kind of been in charge of the Fenway and the building thereof. And he says, Lord, the path from here to the river mouth is complete. 2 rest stops built thereupon. Constructed another path leading from Skjalvik directly to MYRR VI in the north. Another that leads to the river, where we've made a ferry to bring people across this Fellalager and Thane Garmerson's lands. They're connected more so than they've ever been, and it's made a big difference already. But it's not without problems. There are still fenfolk in the fens, and many of the paths have been defaced with their profane markings, and some have had sections smashed or cut away. The damage is mostly superficial, Lord, and it seems random and ineffective, but I thought it was worth mentioning to you.
My thanks, Luda. Your industriousness is to be, or your industry is to be praised. You'll be rewarded appropriately, and I'm much pleased to hear of the completion of the Fenway. As you say, it is to be expected that these savages defy the Fenway. I intend to have a feard raised in each of the villages of the Fen, and that each alderman will submit guards in small number to make safe their sections of the Fenway. Do you think this will be enough to perturb the profane graffiti and minor destruction left by the remnants of those people?
Yeah, he nods. He like scratches at his chin and then nods. I think so, Lord. I think it's only the sections where we're not that they dare to deface or attack. We've had no issue. None of them have come near us at all as we've built. So I think that they are cowardly and they like to hide. Even a presence of 1 or 2 men, I think, would be enough. If they see us, they don't approach.
Many of our valiant warriors fell in the battle with the Fen Queen. Their mail, bright helms, and bloody swords left for no one to wield. See that those surplus goods are dispersed equally amongst the vassal villages, that their own home guards be well armed and equipped to keep safe the Fenway. He
nods at that. You can see like 1 or 2 of the warriors like raise eyebrows, like that is generous. And there's like a sort of ripple that goes through. Sort of approval though, as opposed to like derision. And he'll nod and say he'll see it done.
Stay, I bid you, Luda, in Skjalvik Hall tonight. We'll drink over dinner with you and speak more of the Fenway to know it. But unless you have pressing matters or other petitions, as you can see, there are many others who have waited before dawn to see us.
I will stay. Thank you, Lord. And he'll make his way. More mundanery and inanery follows. The usual missing chicken here, a hurt dog there, a piece of muck or a piece of like land that has become muck, things like that to bother you with for the next hour or so. But then Ulfric, who's the messenger of Jarl Godriksson, arrives. He looks like he's literally just walked in the door, as in like he literally just got to Skjalvik. He's like wet from rain and like mud soaked. And he says, "Hail, Lord, my lord, bid me bring you this message and congratulate you personally. News of your victory over the frog-spawned wretches that once ruled this place has reached Hedborg." And he like pulls out this scroll and will hand it to Chorlick.
I'll turn. I'll nod and smile to the man. Thank him for making the journey, and gesture for some servants to go and take his cloak and boots and such, and give him warm stuff to wear while Chorlik reads and then regales the contents of the message.
Hail to the glorious victor. The Gallo god and the one-handed warrior smile upon you this day, Jarl Skjalmod Harson. News of your victory has reached me, and we have cheered and roared upon hearing it. I invite you and your retinue to Heidborg for a feast to celebrate your defeat of the fenfolk and finally meet you in person. I've sent a gift with my man and hope that it pleases you. With the god's blessing, we shall meet soon. Jarl Godriksson. And Ulfric will step forward and produce this red wrapped thing, red cloth wrapped thing from his pack, and he'll unfurl it, and this is beautiful sayak, like a dagger. The steel shines, and the guard is carved in the likeness of Gullinbursti, which is the golden boar. The handle looks like it might be mammoth ivory, and the pommel is inlaid with a black gem, and he hands it to you.
A lordly gift indeed, and one I fear that I am unworthy of, though it would not be in good spirit to deny a gift freely given from a glorious ringbreaker such as your Jarl Einar. He honors me, and so do you. I accept, of course, both the gift and the invitation, and as soon as things are set right here, I will make haste to Heidborg. Will you guide me there and have the hospitality of my hall for a few days until things can be ready?
Gladly.
Then come, sit amongst my hearthmen, drink and feast as you need.
Yeah, he nods enthusiastically at that. He's obviously hungry, and will make his way into the back of the hall, where he'll pick up something to eat and drink, and then come and stand with the rest.
I'll grab the fine blade, probably the finest blade I've held. Does it seem ornamental under a closer inspection, or like a killing tool?
No, it's definitely good steel. You think it might be Gunlander steel, something like that, and effective. The handle itself is very ornate, but it looks like it's hard wearing.
Skander, come forward.
Yes, Lord. He'll step forward.
This old blade served me well. It blocked the axe of Skjalvik thrice-eyed, and saved the King of Koenig Castellan's life. It's never broken and keeps its edge well enough. May it serve you as well as it served me. Is crafted on the street of steel in Lord Gunnar's hold. I give it to you. Now it seems that I have a new blade for myself.
His eyes will widen at the gift, and he'll almost shake his head, and then kind of find his voice. Thank you, Lord. Princely gift. Thank you.
Once I've given him my old sword, I'll take this mammoth bone-handled and black-gemmed exquisite weapon, examining it one final time before back into the scabbard, and I'll hand it over to Hjalvar, standing next to me, as it wouldn't be fitting for me to have the blade upon my person on Woden's Day. I wouldn't want to send an aggressive message to the people.
Scanner will make his way back into the mass, and he'll just be admiring the blade that he's been given, and some of the men will clap him on the shoulder, while others will sort of jeer him as a teacher's pet. They'll continue with more people coming and hassling you with inanery, but there's nothing else really that requires your really powerful decision making beyond this person owes me this much money and I want it now, and things like that. All well within Skjalmod's ability to arbiter. Fenja has been dreaming a lot. She's woken up more than once screaming, and she sweats as she sleeps. And as you sit by her side, Naki, for this 9th night, your eyes threaten to roll to your skull, and it takes this superhuman strength to hold your eyelids up as if they're the heaviest things. The process has been just absolutely exhausting, that you've never left her side. Bandages have been changed under your watchful eye, and her food has been prepared as you watch. Even when she goes to the privy, you're not far from her. But on this ninth night, the final night, as you sit in this like dimly candlelit room, and your eyelids threaten to close 100 times, she sleeps softly. Dawn must be approaching, because you can hear the telltale chorus of the dawn and the singing of the birds. When you look at Fenja, you can see that she's sweating. She has been basically every night. But it seems heavier now as you look.
Yeah, Noki stands up and moves forward to the jug of water that's kept at her bedside with the cloth he's been using to dab her forehead during her night fever. He takes it again, wipes the sweat from her brow, and then places the back of his hand against it.
Yeah, she's warm, maybe feverish. As you like look and you see, and you like dab away some of the sweat, it immediately returns, and you can see that her hair is soaked, and also that like the bed she's lying on is sodden. As you like look closer, you can see that there's seaweed tangled in her hair, and it starts to like float upwards as if she's underwater. And you can like see her thrash now, like to the left and to the right, but like in slow motion, as if she's under the water. And she has this cry of pain, and water spills from her mouth.
The rag is dropped. He takes a step back, knocking the bedside table and the water jug over. And his heart starts to fall at the bottom of his chest as he watches. Completely unsure what to do.
Her eyes open, and they are black and blue, like the deep of the ocean. And she speaks, though every time she speaks, there's water pouring from her mouth. She says, "Why did you bring me back, Noki? The world is too hard. Beneath the waves, I could be free. In Rand's hall, I could dance. You should let me go. Why do you keep me here? The world is full of pain and full of anguish."
You're not meant to be with Ran. You're not meant to be dead.
She seems to like float above the bed, and water like pours out of her mouth. What am I to you, Garm? What am I to you, murderer, thief, coward? What am I to you? Why give up so much?
Because I've taken so much.
And what now? You give? Late is the hour of your giving.
Noki's going to take a step forward towards the bed at this point. There's something about the tone of her voice and the things that she said. Never mind the supernatural elements. And he's actually going to reach out and grab a hold of her hand tightly, squeezing it.
Your hand is soaking wet and freezing cold. All over skin now, cold as the ocean spray. What am I to you, Garm?
A stranger. This is not Fenja.
Those who are with you die. All of them. You should have let me go.
No. Never.
What is it then that binds you to me?
A promise to the gods. The only one I've ever made them. The only promise I have or truly ever intend on keeping.
You can't keep a promise. You break oaths.
I broke oaths.
What is the promise?
I would keep you safe. If you should live and do right by you.
Do right by me. What does that mean? How does that manifest? It's a platitude. That's what you lie to the Lord.
They're only platitudes until they're put into action. So time will tell.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. And time is what I've given you.
The hand will like grip yours, and though she wasn't floating, it's almost like the weight returns to her, like her hair splats down back onto the bed. Aki?
My hand's still in hers. I give it a squeeze. And then sit on the bed beside her, pushing the damp hair out of her face and away from her eyes. I'm here. I'm here.
She like looks down. Did you throw water on me?
I spilled the jug. I'm sorry.
You dope. She like stretches this like ridiculous stretch for ages, like wriggles around the bed, and then like sits up. There's like just a slight hesitation. She feels like a bit of a soreness, but she seems otherwise well. Oh, I'm so hungry.
He'll stare at her for a moment, looking in her eyes to see if the colour has fully returned, and just bringing himself back to the present. Yes, food. You must be starved. I'll call for some.
No, don't. I want to get up. Let's go for a walk. I've been in bed for, how long have I been in bed?
9 days, 9 nights.
Fuck off.
What can I say? You've got lazy all of a sudden.
She chuckles at that. And she'll get up onto her elbows and then sit on the edge of the bed. And she'll wring out her long hair, and it'll drip onto the wooden floor, and it'll pool there for a moment, and you'll see maybe the reflection of a black and blue eye, before she puts her bare foot in it and stands up and stretches again. Whew, okay, I need something to eat or I'm going to pass out. Come on, let's go.
Just before, as he watches her get dressed and ready to leave, he'll take that rag and mop up all the water, put it in the jug, and take it out with them. And as they're walking down the hall, he'll pass it on to one of the servants and tell them to take it out into the swamp and pour it out.
Yeah, the servant will look at you quizzically, raise an eyebrow, what? But doesn't ask too many questions, and goes to do it. Halvar, you're woken up. You're asleep, and you can feel this shake of this strong hand, and somebody shakes you awake. You can open your eyes and see that it's blonde Magni, this giant man with long blonde hair. Up, boy, up.
Halvar starts awake, and then he quickly flushes. His cheeks quickly flush as he's embarrassed. Yes.
We've got a bit of a tradition. We got to bludge in. Let's go.
He shakes his head, still half asleep. What? What did you say?
You're a boy. We're going to make you a man. Let's go.
He runs the fingers of his left hand through his hair as he gets up and pulls some trousers up. His hand still aches, though healing well.
If you need to take a minute to do your hair, don't worry about it. I'll wait. Magni says. He walks over to the door and spits through his teeth. Although I don't think she'll care what you look like.
He flushes again, and he quickly turns away, making it to look as though he's grabbing his simple linen tunic and pulls it up over his head. He doesn't say anything. He just falls in.
He's he's waiting at the door with his arms folded, and he's come on, boy. He's tapping his foot.
Yeah, I think Halvar would leave, and he would be in the hallway, and he would realize he's barefoot, but doesn't go back to where he sleeps. He just continues on barefoot. Embarrassed enough already.
Eager little fucker, aren't you? Forgot your shoes. He'll slap you in the back of the head.
He would just rub the back of his head and say, well, it's not every day one becomes a man. And he would smile sheepishly at the bigger man.
He'll walk. He has these ridiculous strides. Magni is one of the taller warriors, and he just walks at this speed that if you're not that height, it's hard to keep up with, especially when you're not wearing shoes. And he'll stomp through the rainy courtyard. It's nighttime, in the middle of the night, maybe just before dawn, and your feet will squelch through some puddles and stuff like that through Skjalvik. You come to the longhouse Ira's longhouse, and you can hear there's like some singing inside, although it's pretty quiet, and like laughter. And he'll like open the door and push you in, and there's like a way from some of the guys there who'll like run over. One of them will like grab you in a headlock and like give you a nuggie, and they'll like shove like a tankard into your hand.
Halvar takes it, spilling much of it onto the floor as he awkwardly brings it to his lips, and tries to drink deep like he's seen so many men do before. Much of it splashing across his cheeks and soaking the front of his tunic, but he pulls it down, a big broad smile on his face. And he just tries to looks around quickly, trying to quickly gauge what he is in for.
Good lad. One of the guys will like ruffle your hair that you've like tried to carefully put into a certain style. He'll like ruffle it and ruin it. They'll like bring you to sit at a table. Where there's a bunch of like men standing around or sitting around drinking, and you can see like many of them are that kind of drunk where like they're almost asleep, and like their eyes are kind of like unfocused, and they're just kind of like sitting and staring at each other. No one's really talking too much. Occasionally one of them will like say something, and like Magni will come and sit among them and like plump himself down and like put a hand on your shoulder and like put you down at the bench next to him. You've killed a man now, Halvar. Apparently you killed a really big one. And that means something. It's not often a man kills a man before he fucks a woman. We can't be having that. So he like puts his hand up and like clicks a few times, and like a door opens. In there's two of those fenfolk. They're mine, but you are one of us now, and well, you killed a big man. So in you go. My gift to you.
Halvar looks dumbly at this man, and then he looks to the women, and then back to him, and he smiles slowly and rises to his feet, and there's kind of that little bit of a squelch as some mud that is between his toes kind of just presses down into the floor of the long hall. He smiles at him, and I am thankful for the gift. And he kind of puffs his chest out, and makes a show of walking towards the room.
Not many can say they had two for the first time, Magni says loudly to like the other drunken sullen old bastards, and one of them is like, huh, huh. That's as much as he can muster because he's fucking twisted. As you like walk over, one of the other guys will like clap you hard on the shoulder and like close the door behind you. There's two girls in here, teenagers, like maybe your age-ish. They look like they've had a pretty rough time of it of late.
Yeah, I imagine he presses his back against the door. He breathes out heavily. He doesn't even look at the girls or these young women at first. He kind of takes a step away from the door, and he turns and looks to the door, listening for a moment. Then that's when he turns to them. I am Halvar.
They like look at you and then at each other and then back to you. Like, this is unusual. Hello.
And he would look down and see his sodden feet. His cheeks would flush again. And he would like bite the inside of his mouth, feel the blood, the coppery taste of the blood. I'm to become a man tonight. And then he kind of looks at both of his eyes, kind of trail between these two girls to see what their reaction is. He's never raped a woman. He's never even really, he's heard it, but he's never seen the brutality. And he's not had the tutelage, being born a bastard, scraping a living as he has.
They look confused as to why there's a conversation happening. Like, this has not been the case with the other men that have come in here. You are a man, no? You're fully grown, or almost.
He smiles and lies. I am 18. And then he probably blush a bit at his own lie, and he says, well, that is at least what my mother has told me. And then he would just awkwardly start pulling off his shirt. And start walking to the girls, the women.
So we can fade to black at this stage. They're nervous, but obviously terrified. But they've had a lot worse experiences over the last few days. And halfway through, the door will be booted open when they hear some noises, and Magni will stand there with some of the others, and they'll clap, and someone will come in with a lute and play it. And they'll sing a body song during the whole thing. And at the end, they'll pull you out back into the hall and they'll put you up on a table, and there'll be songs sung as the door is closed on the girls.
I think it's one of those things that when he starts, Halvar is very restrained, but it's there's almost this fire in his blood as he as the girls strip off their clothing, and it's almost like he becomes another person about the time that I guess they kick the door in. And so as he joins the men back out in the long hall, I think he doesn't even put his shirt back on. He just has his loosely tied trousers, and he is drinking until he can't remember who he is.
You'll feel that in the morning when you're awoken in the hall by Ira. It must be maybe 3 or 4 hours later, and you've passed out pretty heavily. You can wake up and your face is half in a pile of sick. It's out! Have you no home to go to?
It feels as though she's screaming at much louder than she probably is, but he just grabs at his head, wipes the vomit that is just covering the side of his face and running down his bare chest. He nods and staggers his way out back to where the men are billeted, I guess.
Yeah, she'll follow you to the door. You're "Fie, away!" Waves this tea towel at you and flicks it at you until you make your way out into the rain again. It's grey sky, bluish overhead. As you make your way back to your own small quarters, you can try and sleep off what remains of your hangover. So another day or two would go by. Is there anything any of you would like to do? I think at this stage, Naki and Fenja would return to the village itself, or make themselves known again. But beyond that, is there anything you want to do? Let me know.
That just depends on what we're going to shift to next.
So I was going to go to the journey to Heidborg and to the Jarl.
In that case, just assemble a small retinue to go north with, including the wolf and Noki. And I want Thorin to stay in charge. She knows my mind best out of the companions. So I'll leave her in charge and give her the Jarlship for now, and to charge to look after Greta. Yeah, and also I wanted to make sure it's clear that I spoke to Yarg or Jörg.
Oh yeah, yep. He would
go
ahead.
I was just going to say it. I wanted to broach it in the kind of way Jörg, I've heard you've been fucking women on the tavern benches again, kind of slip into the glove through humor. And then at kind of the end, just give the soft, stern kind of, come on, mate, that's teenage behavior, not a housecarl's behavior. And I want to kind of say it in the way that he's not going to kind of walk away red-faced and be like, fuck that Skjalmod, who does he think he is, The way that you kind of reproach a mate in kind of soft, but like a softness over the iron.
Yeah, I think he'd be like embarrassed more than anything else. Like he knows that it's not appropriate behavior. He just thought he was a big man after the war, after the battle. And he would kind of say as much to you and says it won't happen again.
Good man, I'll say. Be sure to tip Ira for her troubles. She works as hard as any in the village, and she deserves our respect for providing for us in the way that you protect us.
She's a good woman. I'll volunteer there for a night or two to keep things quiet.
Your uncle would be proud, Jörg. My thanks.
He'll nod and make his way to Ira's place. And I guess as you walk out, you can see the boy Halvar stumbling his way back towards his quarters.
Halvar,
Ira at the door, kind of shouting.
Okay, I'll. In that case, that piques my interest, and I'll go over and call out to Halvar before he can skulk too far away from Ira. What's wrong, Ira?
This filthy boy, threw up on my table, half naked.
I'll look to Halvar to see if he'll refute anything she's accusing him of.
I think as she says that, I think his downcast look says it all. Is his admission. Jesus.
Halvar, you'll apologize to Ira.
He doesn't look at you, Skjalmod. He quickly turns and hastily walks the distance to Ira. My lady, I can't. My apology is not enough to excuse my behavior. I did not act.
You smell like a fucking brewery, boy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And he kind of wiped the little bit of crusted vomit from his very thin facial hair. And he, again, looks down at his feet. You're right.
My apologies, Ira. I thought my words in the hall yesterday would have been enough. Jörg will be along this afternoon or tomorrow. He can see to whatever messes Halvar has made. When we return from the north, Halvar, you shall owe Jörg a favor.
Yeah, that's right. I got kicked out of the call there. You guys there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah. I just got removed from the call. Just after she had called you smelly boy.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, so Halvar again looks down, embarrassed, and he apologizes again. And I think that's when Skjalmod, she's got jumped again.
No, I'm here.
Oh, you're there. Okay. And I think that's when Skjalmod approached Halvar and berated him some more. Yeah.
Yeah,
and just got Jörg to sort out the mess for him because he said he'd sort her out. Because I don't want Halvar to go back into the tavern now.
Yeah, she's giving out to you, Halvar, but it's kind of like the way your ma would give out to you after you've come in on a wild night, and she's angry at you, but then also probably will provide you with a nice breakfast in the morning. It's kind of scolding, but not furious or hateful. It's more concerned and annoyed. She's had a bunch of sons that she's raised, and she knows this behavior. So she'll be grateful when Jörg arrives to help her out.
Come, Halvar, we'll go to the stable. And once we're there, maybe looking at the horses that we're going to take, Oh, actually, maybe we wouldn't even take them. I'm not sure. But either way, I'd try and get him to dunk his head in a trough and come to his senses. And once he's like shocked back into like a little closer to sobriety, I'll say, who was it?
He kind of whips his head back, and it kind of does that one of those things where the water just trails along, and the brisk cold water feels refreshing. He goes, "'Twas two, Lord." And I don't think they ever told Helvar their names, even though he had asked.
As if Maggie knows, or cares.
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant more like who was it who took you out, hinting that I might have known.
Oh, yeah.
Like these kind of crude male rituals.
Yeah. And it was Magnuson, Lord.
Doing only for you what's been done for him, what he's learnt. Well, do you feel any more a man, being scolded by Ira, or have lost your shirt, or vomit caked in your stubble?
He would kind of look down at his countenance, and he would say, "I think so, Lord." And he would do this dry laugh that hurts his head. He immediately puts his hand up to his forehead, just rubbing his temples.
Yeah, Skelmod's face at that loses its softness, and he doesn't mimic or mirror the smile or laughter, and kind of gives an almost cold face.
He would immediately, Halvar would immediately, his face would pale at that. Forgive me, Lord, I did not mean any disrespect.
Tell me, Halvar of Skjalvik, if a young girl drinks mead, does that make her a man?
No, Lord.
And the cur that ruts a bitch, does it make that dog a man?
He looks down and kind of pushes some straw with one of his bare feet. No, Lord, it does not.
And the viper that fangs a man's foot, sends his bowels to water and to death, does that make the snake a man?
Now he doesn't even have the courage to put to work. He just shakes his head. No.
What makes a man?
He takes a moment, and then he looks up at you. A man's word. It's honor.
And what of my word and honor? If I give word to another lord that my men will comport themselves with dignity and honor as befits bright-mailed warriors, and that one of that lord's agents or servants may see behavior such as yours, you unman me by this behavior.
Lord is right, as always. I was foolish. I'm no man. I'm still a boy. And he turns and he punches like the edge of a stall. And it just the coarseness of the wood just bites into his this flesh, and you just feel the blood start to roll down from it.
Did you wish to go? Did you wish to go when Magni came to take you?
I would lie if I said no, Lord. I will not lie to you. I never had a father. That such a great man would so interest in me. I want to serve you, and you can see that he's struggling. He doesn't know what to say or how to say it, but he's honest.
And what if one of the whores were to sprout your child? How would you maintain it?
you're quickly losing him. You know, his mind is racing. You could see him. He starts to rub at his head again, absently kind of running his fingers through his hair. But they don't run through because they're just soddened with mud and visceral. And he says, "Well, I would see to the child, of course."
And the woman, you take her for your wife and swear the oaths to her before the Odin stone beneath the eyes of the wolf.
And I guess that's where I would turn to you, Lloyd. What might Halvard know? Would that be a custom? Would that be the expectation?
Oh, marriage. Oh,
marriage.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, probably. Like if you whelp a child. Well, I don't know. Actually, to be honest.
Well, I will answer it how Halvar will answer it.
Yeah.
And he would turn to you, and you would see the boy's innocence in his face, and he said, "Of course I would. Would not. I would marry the girl. I would not put another bastard in the world. I know what that is like. It's not easy."
To have a woman and to care for her is no easy thing, and not a thing to be taken lightly. Come, wash yourself and be ready. We'll go to see Noki. Perhaps when you gaze on Fenja and he, you will understand more these words.
He would probably be nodding even as Skalmod leaves him alone in the stables, and he would wash himself up.
And I'll head off to go and find Noki, expecting Halvar to catch us up later.
So Noki, you've like come back to Skjalvik, and the people are pleased to see Fenja. Like some of the women like fawn over her, and will like take her. Ira actually will like take her and cook her a nice dinner, or breakfast, I should say, of like sausages, rashers, things like that, and sort her out with like a delicious breakfast. And you're given the first opportunity that you've had in a long time to move away from her, if you wanted to.
Yeah, he'll sit with her while she breaks her fast for a while. His head coming up as Sven walks in, holding a bundle in his hands and his arms, and he'll nod to Sven, look at Fenja, say, "There's something I need to do. Enjoy your meal. I'll be back in a few hours."
She like looks at you and then at Ira, who's like smiling and like humming. She's like cooking up or frying some bread. And then she like looks at you again and says, "Don't go far."
He'll nod and stand up and move out of Sven, and he'll say, "You gathered them all?"
Yeah.
That's referring to the outlaws.
Yep. You can take two of them if you want.
Let's get this done.
All right, boss.
So I imagine they've been assembled somewhere, maybe somewhere where the wolf would stomp.
Yeah, somewhere outside of town, probably on one of the bigger sort of like little islands that's uninhabited.
And Sven's been there already to set this up. He's set up a small fire, which he'll proceed to light as Noki stands in front of everybody, the murmuring going on, wondering why they've been gathered. And as Sven lights the fire, Noki strips down to his waist, stands up on a rock, and starts to give a speech towards the outlaws. Says, "You've been given a second chance, a second path to follow, but there's still a ways to travel." And at that, he'll call down to Sven, who'll hand him the bundle, and he'll unwrap it to reveal a branding iron, and he'll hold it up for everybody to see before setting it into the fire. "You haven't always seen me as one of your own. haven't always seen me as one of you. I led you, those that followed, along this path I forged for myself first. Today I promise to forge a new path, one we can all walk, one where we don't take because we can, but because we have earned it. We don't take to survive, we take to gain because we've earned it. You are here because you've earned it. You serve Jarl Skjalvik because you've earned it. You're all branded. It means your past will forever define your future. And there is something that we, the formerly outlawed and condemned, the reviled and cursed, must do. You will be branded again, and your past will be erased. For the future will be marked upon you, one where you will be marked with a different reputation, of honour and as a hero, a mark that the gods will look down favourably upon. You'll still be feared, but you'll be feared and respected in equal measure. You all know that I bear no mark, no brand of the outlaw. But today, from today, I shall bear a mark. He'll get down, kneel on the ground and nod to Sven. And as he closes his eyes, Sven will bring the glowing red brand towards his face. And he grimaces as the hot metal presses against the flesh, searing it until it smokes. And he'll open his eyes as he hears the branding iron hiss again as it's doused in the water. And as he stands up, he bears a mark that comes around from his right eye down to from the brow to the cheek of a not worked reefer fisker.
Many of the outlaws are like watching with like arms folded, and you would have seen them like nodding along throughout the speech. And when they see you go through with the brand, several of them would like grunt approval. And then after like it's pulled away, there's like a round of applause and some cheers. One of them will step forward towards you. You know, you talk a lot of shite, Nucky, but he like looks around back towards Skjalvik and then spits. This isn't so bad. And there's something to be said for earning what's yours. Something to be said for the smile of a person who lives in the town, or the scathing, scolding voice of the old woman who runs the inn, or the stern nod of the warriors as they protect you. There's something to be said for that. And he'll put his hand on your shoulder, and he'll like turn to the rest of them, many of whom will like nod and step forward similarly.
I will return the gesture of the hand on the shoulder and then turn towards the mall with Nocky's almost cheeky grunt that he generally wears on his face. And he'll grab the nearest one that steps close and pull them in like a hug, essentially.
Yeah, there's a bit of backslappery. There seems to be like a genuine enthusiasm from most of these people here, from all of them actually, at the idea of like no longer scurrying and no longer like scratching a living. You like sit here for a little while and they'll tell stories of like the hardest times they've had and how they, you know, would have picked up a piece of like dropped bread that fell into a puddle that somebody dropped and eat it because they had nothing else. and like the things that they had done, and how that will never happen again. That those days are behind.
Yeah, Noki will stay for long enough to make sure that everyone is happy to go through with this and are contented before kind of passing the buck back to Sven, looking at the sun in the sky to see how long's passed and realizing that he did only say the Fenja would be away for a few hours.
Yeah, Sven will like have a quick chat with the rest of them about like what's to come, and that you're a Thane now, and that Fella Liger will be their new home most likely, and like what's to be expected there, and what life will be like in that new place. But you can make your way back, and you can find Fenja like happily. She's like sitting in a comfortable sort of armchair. She's got like her hand on her stomach. It's like rubbing it. Obviously has eaten way beyond what she was supposed to, or what she felt like eating, and she's just kind of like half asleep, and she'll like open up an eye, just like one eye, and squint towards you. Said you wouldn't go far.
I didn't. I could hear you eating all the way out in the fens.
Oh, shut up. No, you couldn't.
I could.
That's you. It's like
It's
a
like
pig.
a wild animal.
And Ira like chuckles and like joins in. I heard her. She eats like a pig. And like Fenja will like look towards her and like go to stand up, and then be like, "Ugh," like she's too full, and sit back down in the chair.
I think I'll have to roll this one home.
This is my home now.
In this chair.
Yep, you'll have to. We'll have to move in here, Ira. And she like chuckles about it, and says, "I've got dessert if you want." And Fenja like groans at the idea.
I'll make sure to pay Ira for the meal and the extra as well for the hospitality.
She'll sort you out with a little bit of breakfast as well. Skjalmud, did you want to talk to Noki, or Noki, do you want to talk to Skjalmud?
I wanted to go find Noki to speak with him and prepare to leave off for the north. But if I came across them at the tavern or something like with Fenja, I wouldn't like interrupt them.
Okay, yeah. So you
Maybe like
see...
catch his eye across the yard or something.
Exactly,
just kind of give him that when you're ready, mate.
Yeah.
I see Fenja as well, Noki. I'm glad. Whenever it comes to pass that we do finally meet and have a bit of time alone.
You have my gratitude for sure, Jarl. And I'm sure I speak for Fenja as well.
The 9 days passed and she seems hale and hearty enough. I'm even sure I heard you summon a laugh from her before when I passed the yard.
She's been in good humour, all things considered. Although, truly, I don't know how much she remembers.
Her love for you is one of the truest things I've found in this swamp. She is lucky.
Swamp is full of dishonesty, that's for sure.
At that, his brow furrows if he notices the brand or like the fresh wound. Kind of gives you a quizzical look, unless it's hidden, of course.
No, it's in full show.
Oh yeah, you said beside your eye, right? Yeah, so he definitely would notice it. He'll kind of turn his head slightly, asking without saying, like, what is the meaning of that?
He'll gingerly touch it, but it's still sore, still scabbing over, wincing a little. A show of loyalty from the outlaws to yourself. It marks as your men.
And binds them to you. Wise. Men will more eagerly follow a man who will endure the pain that they will be expected to.
True. Although that's not the only reason why I did it. You speak of dishonesty in the swamps. I wasn't entirely honest with them. And
Sometimes a lord must keep secrets.
sometimes those secrets, well, they don't serve the Lord any good.
Those are the ones that a lord needs must know best, he says, like probingly.
I do have another secret that concerns you, Jarl.
Mm-hmm. Speak freely, Lord.
When Fenja arrived and I arrived here, I told you we were man and wife. It's not the truth. I had my reasons for doing so, but I feel I should be honest here.
Does she know she is not your wife?
She knows. But I wish to be honest because I wish your blessing in making it so.
Of course. You don't need to ask. She is not mine. You are an alderman, to pick which wife you please. If it's my blessing you seek, I give it freely. She's a good woman. Despite what you believe, you're a good man. A fine match.
Thank you, Jarl.
I wish to take you north when I go to meet with Godriksson. It's fitting that a representative of one of the villages be in attendance with the retinue. Yours is the closest, and you are amongst the most trusted. But I will not pull you away if you think that Fenja needs you still. I do not order this, I only ask it.
Noki ponders this for a time. Yeah, looking back out over the streets of Skjalvik. No, I should be by your side for this. This is an important matter. She will understand.
Would you wed her before we go?
On the return. More time to prepare, to plan, to get the finest drink and food.
If that is your wish, so be it. Thorin can see to the preparations while we are away. Though, he smiles, I'm sure the only wedding she's ever played was the one to the axe, which she swore her vows to when we were younger.
Well, I hope my vows are as strong as hers. I don't think she'd ever be parted from that axe.
She is a faithful partner to it, that's for sure, he says, like with warmth of his companion.
I'm sure she'll do us justice.
My thanks. I'll give you time with Fenja, but we ride out for the Fenway at dawn. Of course, she is welcome to the hospitality of Skjalvik and can remain here rather than returning back to Adelega alone.
Thank you, Jarl. I think I'll counsel her to do just that. Yeah, you'll find me waiting by my horse come dawn.
He gives like a nod and then a smile. Just holds you guys for a little bit longer and then kind of turns to go about his business.
Or maybe just after dawn, he says as he walks away.
Perfect. I'm going to take a quick break there, guys. Do some smoky
Okay,
wheeze.
Cool.
See what happens when we come back. All right, lads, I'm back.
There's been too much niceness. I'm just waiting to get pumped.
Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty grim stuff with Halvar, at least. You got to hit the quota, you know?
Yeah.
I don't so much think it's the actual when you're in the moment. I think it's the tension building up to what you know is the moment.
Right. Yep.
In Esclaw, it's not. It's like once you're there, you're like, all right, I'm here. It's like, when is the shoe gonna drop, though? That's what's so great.
I was just talking to Nico the other day about like how it's like an aspect of games that people just totally ignore, you know? Like, and if you lived in the Middle Ages, like rape was just a part of everyday life for most people. For a great many people, certainly if you're of like a warrior profession, just like gloss over it in all the games. And I understand why it's like hard to deal with, but also like, yeah, I think it's like sort of dishonest to pretend like it didn't happen. And it's also like would have been such a part of becoming a man and like all that sort of stuff, you know? It's a tricky one to do right, but you can't pretend it didn't happen.
I totally agree. You know, war itself is a very inhumane thing, but when you put people into that situation, they act much differently than they would in any other circumstance, for sure.
Yeah.
I love the like de-heroicism process that we've been going through in this campaign in a way. Like dispelling a lot of like the glorification, and it's almost like anti-heroism. Which, like I said in the chat, gives it like a new meaning to the whole like gritty campaign.
I think it's real heroism in the sense that, you know, it's grounded in a reality that is true. I mean, it is about survival. It is about getting what you feel is your deserve. And the stronger, let's face it, the stronger does oftentimes prevail. I mean, it's not about fair.
No way. Yep. Right. So, did you want to talk to Fenja before you go away, Naki? Or do you want to do it when you come back?
I think he'll wait until he comes back. There's still a couple of things on his mind that he's pondering over, that he's uncertain about. But I think that he would have no doubt as to her answer when he asked for her hand in marriage. So I don't think that's in any question, but I don't think he would quite just yet.
Yeah, she'll give out to you pretty loudly when you tell her you're going away for what could be a while. But she says, Ira will take care of me. And she like says that near Ira, and Ira like gives you this look of like, there'll be silver.
Sorry, I missed that last bit. Yeah, Ira is looking for silver.
Yeah, so basically, like Fenja says to you that she'll be staying with Ira while you're away, and Ira gives you a look that is like, you'll be paying me for that in silver.
Yeah, Noki will at least pay half up front. He will leave some more silver. And he will have words with Iris and make sure she's well taken care of. He knows he doesn't really need to say it, but he needs to say something.
Yeah. Yeah, she tells her she'll take care of her and keep her upstairs and away from the chaos that happens here in the bar as best she can. with that out of the way, you can make your way to your horse, and dawn will come, and you can set off towards Heidborg. How many were you going to take, Skjalmad? Did you want to take like a big gang of warriors, or like
at least 6 in addition to myself, including Noki and Halvar?
Okay. Yep.
So probably someone like Blonde Magni, whoever Skander would pick as his second. I'd take that one as well.
Okay.
Who Noki would pick as his second, and then just kind of 2 of the proper proven warriors. Well, they're all proven warriors, so let me clarify. Like that I took from
Veterans,
Koning Castellan.
right? Yeah, no problem. So you can gather up
Don't
that
want to
crew.
be like, don't want to be obtuse and like have to like, be like, oh, here I am with like 30 guys for you to feed and stuff like that to this guy, but also don't want to be able to be taken over by a band of cutthroats.
Sure. So with those,
so 7.
Good.
So yeah, like it's 7 at least.
So with those men then armed and armored, you can gather up the few horses that you have here, and begin to make your way. It's hard going through the swamps, and it takes you best part of like 2, nearly 3 days to get through the fens with the horses. But there's no fenfolk to hassle you along the way. And like Luda had said, it seems to be the case that like although they might be unhappy with what's going on, they're also like afraid to like directly confront any of the people from Skjalvik or any of the Islanders who live here as opposed to the fenfolk. To make good time and make your way out of the swamp, and you can see like the far green country and the rolling hills as you make your way northwards towards MYRR, which would be your first, Mjolfiat, which would be your first stop. It's the first village that you'll come to within Jarl Godriksson's lands. This is the famed village with a famed blacksmith. And when you're maybe a mile or 2 out, there'll be 3 horsemen who will like ride towards you. One of them is like a man with a grey beard. The other 2 are like youths, boys. And the man on the horse will like see the fine gear that you have and the mail and things like that. And the banner, though he doesn't recognize it, he'll call out, "Hello, Lord. How can we help you?"
Greetings. Who goes there in our midst?
Kjorl is my name, Lord.
Well met, Kjorl. I'm the Jarl Skjalmod of Skjalvik.
Oh, you're the... and one of the boys like looks and like smiles. "You're the Jarl. Pleasure to meet you, Lord. We've heard a lot of good things about you."
He'll nod and smile at them and kind of prod his horse and like urge his retinue to follow so that they're at like a friendlier distance to these men.
You're in the lands of Fenfolk, in the Jarldom of Einar Godriksson. Didn't mean any offense, of course. Armed bands like yours are not really allowed here. There's been some trouble with incursions of late.
I understand that too well, and no offense is taken, though I must refuse your request to disarm. As you can see, we're a small number. We are honourable and godly men, and here, if that does not suffice, a writ from your own Jarl inviting us to his hall, and I'll gesture for Halvar to like ride forward with the writ to give over to the man.
Oh, we've no intent of disarming you, Lord. I simply mean that generally armed bands aren't allowed, but you're a Jarl and have a good reputation. We wouldn't dream of it. It's a glorious day that you're here. We've heard of your reputation, and, well, nearly a month into your rule, the Fenfolk are defeated. And we've also heard that the cutthroats and scumbags of the swamps are dead or at heel. It's joyous news.
He'll quickly like wash the dark look that comes over his face when he calls Noki and his ilk scumbags, though he won't like say anything further. But I think those closest to him would kind of see that reaction. It probably is lost on Kjorl, though. He'll smile and accept the praise.
We'll escort you to Mjolfiat if you like. You can speak with the Thane and he'll sort you out with a night's rest in the hull.
We'd be thankful, I'll say, and we'll like haul in alongside them and follow their escort onwards. And I'll ask them along the ride. You spoke of troubles.
Aye, Lord. There was there is, I suppose. Is there? Was there? I suppose it's both. A dispute between our Jarl and the Jarl to the east. Ranek, his name, Reaver, settled here some months ago.
Just to clarify, a Reaver named Ranek has settled in their lands, and does he have the leave of their leader to do that? He
settled in the lands east of Jarl Godriksson's land, so the next Jarldom over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he settled there and has been making incursions of late, sending armed bands in to steal and, well, cause trouble.
Why, that's violence. Surely that means war.
Aye, Lord, it did. There was a battle not too long ago. Couldn't be more than a month ago. There was a victory. That was costly, from what I hear. Wasn't there myself.
Unfortunate.
The Thane will know more about it. I just guard the approach.
Gossipers and rumour mongers too have I've heard their tales and prattle about your lord's conflict with Flokisan to the south. Can you tell me, is there truth to that, or is it the gossip of weaver women?
Well, the Thane says that the Jarl Knut is a generous man, a breaker of rings. That he provides gifts frequently. So I don't know anything about that, Lord.
He'll wave his hand. Talk, I'm sure. I've seen the generosity of Flokisan for myself. He'll smile, hiding the venom.
Yes, I hear he's a very good man. I haven't met him myself, though I hear he's very, very generous. He's descended from famed figures, I suppose.
Indeed. Few can claim to not have heard of the great lords of Sjödeford from days of yore, before the coming of the king.
Yes, quite so. Quite so. Like I say, I haven't met him personally, Lord, but I've heard he's a good man. And certainly he's been generous. He's provided some gifts to our Thane, and I imagine also to the Jarl. It must be the case.
I'm pleased to hear.
Oh yes, quite a good man, and he'll like rattle off like all these inane facts about the Jarl as he like ride, and he'll talk about like how he once gave this gift of like a golden ring to the Thane and all this sort of stuff as you ride.
I won't say anything, but I wonder how much the Jarl knows of this Thane's bribery, for want of a better word. Maybe not bribery is the best word, but like appeasement gold. Gold that's buying amiable relations. But I'll smile to the man like, oh, yes, and I'll give him the, you know, when you can adopt that demeanor and facial expression that when someone's talking to you, they won't stop. I'll do that, just in case there's anything that I can cherry pick from it that's useful.
Yeah, he'll want to talk about Knut quite a bit, and then he'll like talk some more about the this Ranek character, this like seemingly who's like carved himself out of Jarldom on the coast of the Inner Sea, like sailed down with a bunch of reavers and warriors and like displaced the Jarl who'd been there previously, and now is like causing trouble for his own Jarl. And he'll like prattle about that, and then he'll tell you about the seasons and how it's been a pretty good harvest so far, and there's been like unusual amounts of rain, but overall it's been pretty all right. And he'll like blather on about that. He'll tell you about his like sick daughter and how he thought it was the pox, but it's not quite the pox, it's something else, and he brought her to, and just nonstop prattle out of this man.
Perfect.
Until you can see Mjolfliot in the distance. It's like a nice little village, and you can hear the ringing of hammers as you like enter into it. It's got a palisade. They're nothing grand, and you can make your way inside, and you're welcomed The longhouse here is made of stone. There are like stone steps leading up to it. And as you approach, a man will come out with his arms wide. He wears like a blue tunic and has a golden ring on his little finger on his right hand, and a silver arm ring on each arm. Short cropped beard and a shaved head. And he'll welcome you warmly. Lord Skjalmod Harson, we have heard such things of you, Lord. You are most welcome here in Mjolfliot. My boy here will see to your horses, and you're most welcome inside.
My thanks, Thane. I am honoured to be your guest and unworthy of your praise.
He points his finger. That humility, that is why you are worthy of it. I've heard tales that you don't bask in your own glory. All the best lords are that way, I say.
I'll eye the gold ring on his pinky and nod agreeing.
Come inside. I will set you up with something nice to drink, something nice to eat, fill your belly, warm your feet.
I'd be thankful for it. My men and I have ridden hard along the Fenway, and they would be welcome of your mead and food. And I promise they will act accordingly in your hall.
I'm certain of it. You can come inside, and it's quite a nice hall. As I say, it's stone, and so it doesn't have that sort of damp smell that is synonymous with wooden halls, particularly in the fens. There are fresh rushes over most of the ground. And 3 great wooden tables with one vertically and then one horizontally at the back up on a little step. And he'll bring you up there with whoever you choose to go with you. It's not like a feast or anything, but there is some food provided and stuff. It's probably lunchtime. And they can bring you nice little bits of food and fresh bread and things like that and mead.
I'll have one of the pack horses, I'll unload, say, a quarter of the smoked fish and bog rosemary and other food, superfluous surplus food goods that we would have brought as intended gifts for Godriksson. We'll give a portion of that over to the Thane for his hospitality, as is befits a stranger to give gifts in this situation.
Yeah, he'll be grateful and very loudly grateful. He'll be like, Lord, you did me too much honor. I couldn't possibly accept. So generous of you. Goodness. And look at this bounty. And he's picks some of the rosemary out and smells it and snaps some of the leaves. Oh, this will be great. My chef, she makes such delicious lamb. And he tries to find her. He looks around sort of desperately. Where is she? And he clicks his finger. And points. Make her make something with this.
It's no southern stone or eastern steel, but it's given freely in good conscience.
Yes, indeed, and we are deeply grateful, Lord, deeply grateful. You do me a great honor in coming to my hall, my little hall here in the middle of nowhere. Wasn't expecting a visit from a Jarl.
Not so small, or if it is, then my holdfast is small too, and yours of stone and such finery as to make ours look glib. You too are humble, my lord. This is a finer place as any. I can see that your men are happy and that they prosper, and that even though you speak of troubles in the west with this Rannoch, seems here that your folk are well protected. Your warriors honour you.
Oh, we are lucky. We are on the far side of that conflict, on the other side of Hedborg. If you go far enough, that's where you'll find this Rannoch character. I don't know much about him, Lord, but I believe that he's an Iskulfin Reaver, that he's been sent down here. There's news of war in the north, great war, invasions, Jarldoms being torn asunder, burnt to the ground. They say that there is a flamethrower up there, some sort of Jotun giant man with a witch who burns everything in his path.
If the northern lords would burn and slay each other, all the better for we in the south, nay?
You see, that's what I thought too, Lord. That's what I thought too. But then it turns out that if you displace enough of them, they come down here. And that has been the case. Several of these northern, I wouldn't even call them lords, I call them animals, speaking personally. I don't mean any offense, of course, but I believe that you are of proper stock. Those people, they're a different kind of person. And they come down here in great numbers. Now they think that the south is soft, and they find our soft lands, and they make their way here as if it's their home.
How could Godriksson let them into these lands? And you say that he won a battle against them a span past, but still it seems that they plague this land.
Well, it wasn't
Why
his,
is that?
wasn't his lands they entered, Lord. It was a Jarldom over. That Jarldom had some pretty tough times. And I suppose an opportunity was seized, and these Iskolfin people are nothing but opportunists. When our Jarl discovered that they had moved and the raids began, he sent a force, and there was a confrontation. A victorious one for our Jarl, though it was costly.
I feel his loss and grieve with the widows of Hedeborg.
Indeed, he lost his son in that battle, and he has been, well, it's hard.
I'll clutch my amulet at that, and with true solemnity, close my eyes a moment. And despite all of the politicking and diplomatizing that's flourishing about like a bird caught in the room here, that's a true gesture. What was the boy's name?
Einar. And just like his father, he was his firstborn. Yeah, it's deeply unfortunate. Some sort of Iskolfin maniac wearing a bear skin.
I will write to the king on your lord's behalf in regards to this matter and inform him personally.
His eyes widen at that. The king? You know him?
Of sorts, though not as well as some. Though he's a man who likes to know of the happenings in his realm, and he is no shy maid when it comes to battle.
His eyes widen at that, like as if you knew somebody who was crazy about celebrities, and then you told him that you had met Rihanna. He just looks at you like, "Tell me about him. What is he like?"
He's brave and wise. He's cunning and many things that a king should be. He's a ring breaker and a gift giver. He gave me my own lands. I did not carve them out for myself, as is the northern fashion. They were a gift from the king. He is one who rewards leal service.
He sits back in his chair. And you know him. Gods. What are the chances, eh? Well, and he reaches over and has a sip of his mead.
This is the Alderman, Nocky, he says, introducing the man to his left. And this, my banner bearer, Halvar.
Nocky, what an interesting name.
He'll incline his head at the introduction and then shrug at the interesting name part.
He'll kind of laugh nervously. Yes, yeah, quite interesting name, yes. And Halvar, strapping young lad, quite an honour, bearing the banner of a man who knows the king.
Halvar would do much like Noki. He would give a nod. Now, this conversation is happening over the meal, yes?
Yeah, that's right.
So one thing that would be noticeable is that he's just lightly picking at the food and just sipping at any mead that was offered.
He slew 2 fenfolk the size of bears just a week past. He's fearless in battle, and is no stranger to the shedding of blood. He'll point to the young man's ruined fingers as a sign of proof of what he's saying, that he's battle tested.
I thought I could see that warrior look in you. You have that kind of that stare that only a true man who's been in the Spear Inn can have, he says, and your impression is that he's never been near the Spear Inn.
He is honoured to be here, as am I.
Good. I'm glad that my hall appears to be grand to you. That is heartening. I do my best to keep it looking spick and span.
I must commend you and your warriors. We've met them upon the road. They comported themselves with honour, and you can be sure that we were treated with all due respect. My thanks to them.
Oh, straight as an arrow is old Kjorl. He's a good man. He's been doing that job since I was a boy. He's true and tested.
Have you had trouble with the fenfolk, or do they not dare to dwell to range this far north?
Only intermittently. Mostly they don't come out of the fens. A little bit here and there they would come. Once or twice we had them try to steal some steel from our blacksmith, but overall we've managed all right. They never really come very organized, and our warriors are more than capable. We do a lot of trade with MYRR VI, and they have had problems with them. But yeah, not so much here.
And just MYRR VIC's one of our lands, right?
Yeah, MYRR VIC is in, it's kind of the most northern place in the Fens.
I know the alderman there well. He's a good man. Shrewd at the merchant's cunning, but fair.
Too right, Lord, too right. Shrewd he is, but that is a good quality, I say, in a lord. There'll be no more trouble from the Fenfolk now, though, eh? I heard you gave them what for?
For the most part, though many brave men it cost to do that thing. Still, there are remnants of them, and they deface and attempt to ruin the Fenway that we've constructed, though I'm sure in time they'll be completely eradicated, integrated into the... And he pauses all just for a moment and before he says new order, remembering for a flash that thunderous night with Stein.
Well,
a delicious meal, Lord. Commend your cook and the bog rosemary with these northern lambs. Sits well with me, and he'll push the trencher away. I'm sure you'll forgive me that we have pressing business with your Jarl, and despite the want, would not be able to accept your hospitality to stay this evening.
Oh, of course. Yes, it's pressing business. I cannot leave a man like Einar Godriksson waiting. Your horses have been seen to. We can provide you with some food to take with you, if you like. Change of clothes, things like that.
Oh, you're too kind. We have food aplenty, and the clothes we have now will suffice. You've been far too generous as it is. I would not wish to impose upon you further, though my thanks.
Very good. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Lord. A real pleasure.
Indeed. Is there any business or message that I could take for you on your behalf to your Jarl to save your men the trouble, or yourself? I ask only since we are travelling north anyway, and would welcome boon companions upon the road.
He scratches his chin and thinks about it. No, we're in close contact. The Jarl and I are fast friends. Thankfully, it's a good relationship to have, I suppose, with your lord.
A mortar to hold the stones of the realm together, he says approvingly.
Quite so, yes. But thank you for the offer, nonetheless. I wish you a speedy journey and a safe one too.
At that, he'll stand up and kind of scrape the bench across the rushes as he stands and kind of give that look to his men to do the same and kind of bow respectfully which probably comes easier to the veterans than to the Fen men.
Yeah.
But it's to be expected.
Yeah, he'll like walk out to the door with you, and like see as you like mount up, and he'll thank you again for your visit and offer you again more hospitality, and then like stand and wave at the top of the stairs as you start to leave out of view.
After we're some leagues out of that place, I want to kind of ride at just a little bit ahead of the band with Noki and Halvar, just so it's kind of us three on point beyond the other five or so. And after a moment of kind of idyllic silence, I'll just ask them without like looking or turning, what was your impression of that man, without kind of denoting who the question's actually addressed to, just kind of leaving it open on the road.
I think Halvar would be the first to speak up. He hadn't said anything, riding in silence until that question. He would say, he seemed to me, seemed a good and honorable man, loyal to his Jarl, to a fault.
Noki listens to Halvar talking, and at the same time he's picking a bit of lamb from inside a cracked tooth. He pulls it out on the end of his pinky, sucks it. His words were like honey. Too much honey makes me sick.
What do you mean, Noki? He seemed a good man and has offered us hospitality. And you could see that Halvar is honestly confused by what you said, the honeyed words and everything. And he looks kind of concerned. He's got like a furrowed brow as he looks to Skullmod.
He was tripping over himself to offer us hospitality. No lord does that.
Could not it have been because it was our Jarl? He is a great man. And he's trying to, like, searching for the word to say, but he's probably really realizing his own foolishness to be so quick to trust this man.
You've been around warriors in the last while. Tell me, when two warriors come face to face, what did they do?
Halvar nods when you say you've been around warriors. Really, Halvar has not much. But he thinks to what he knows, and he thinks of like two roosters, and how they strut and preen in front of each other. They try to see whose cock is bigger.
Exactly.
And you would see almost like a ton of bricks striking Halvar. It comes to him, and he nods dumbly. He's like, so much for me to learn. You are wise, Noki.
I cannot figure if he is the serpent gnawing at the roots of Yggdrasil or the squirrel that carries messages and gossip from top to bottom. And his hands were heavy and calloused more with gold and silver than with steel. Oh, he abided the law of hospitality and spoke as friend to us. But tell me, Halvar, did you hear anything else beneath the words?
He looks at Noki, and then he looks back at his lord.
I'll give you the look of like, don't look to him, don't ask him for advice. You need to work it out yourself.
I heard a man that would say what you wanted to hear.
Good. And what else?
I saw a man who is quick to accept gifts from another lord. At the and he licks his lips and he says, despite what his lord might know, I do not know that the man has told his Jarl everything that he should, that a loyal Thane must.
Do you think it's strange that his men knew of our coming? And that they took us to feast from their lord's larder rather than escorting us upon the road to their Jarl?
It is something I was thinking of, Lord. He lies. But once you say it, it makes it like all the dots connect when you say it to Halvar. And he's like, it was a nagging at the back of my mind, Lord. I could not connect till you said that just now.
And the gold he sported, more than all of my wealth, and I have fought in the king's shield wall and have a jarldom for myself. How do you think a Thane like that came by rings of gold to hang upon his plump fingers? Who else has gold?
Floki?
Hmm.
And it sounds like maybe he's answering you, but he says it lower. Like it's a thought that he has that actually makes it past his lips. And he kind of almost starts a bit when you acknowledge it. And then he gets more courage and he says, you think he's taking from Floki? And you would
Perhaps.
see this sour look cross Halvar's face. And he can't help himself. He has to look at Noki at this point. He sees Noki as wise.
Just like that, and back in the hall, Noki gives his shrug and his sly smile. You'll get no answers from him here.
Remember, Halvar, when lords speak, there are two conversations going on at once. You must learn to listen to both. It is just as dangerous in a threshed hall under a roof of peace as it is in the shield wall.
Halvar nods. I will mark those words and mark them well, Lord.
And there's probably a bit of traveling in silence from there. Skjalmod becomes deep in thought.
Yeah, you'll travel the rest of the way towards Hedbjorg, and you'll see it in the distance. It's up on this great hill. I guess like a plateau rather than a hill. And there's this sort of winding path that like snakes upwards, very thin path. You think would be murder to try and make it up there under fire. You can kind of like see that before you can see men approaching. Much like in the previous encounter, a couple of men on horseback, 7 of them here, all in blue cloaks. And they'll like ride towards you and greet politely. We've been told to look out for you, Lord.
Well met, good men. As requested by your lord, we've come at his behest to answer his call, to say thanks for the gifts he sent, to bring gifts of our own.
You're most welcome. The Lord will be very pleased that you've come. He's been anticipating and hoping that you'd make it here. If you follow me.
I would be glad to, sir, he says, and he'll kind of spur the horse up to fall alongside those men. And as they travel the remaining, like, murderous winding distance, he'll say, I passed through the lands of yon Thane to the south, a kindly man who showed us much respect and hospitality. Your Jarl is lucky to have one such as he.
He's like looking straight ahead, and you can see him like nod. Yes, lucky indeed, Lord.
Open-handed, and not for a want of words either.
He's known to be a talker, Lord.
He was that. He spoke of this Rannick to the east. Troubles.
His Skulfin bastard. That's right. There have been trouble. Quite a bit, actually, of late.
His land seems safe enough.
Yeah,
Untouched by war.
Look at he's on the correct side of this. The Jarl, the Thanedoms to our east have been much more unlucky.
I am sorry for them.
Yes, we've lost a great many. This is talk for lords. He like corrects himself, realizes that he's like blathering and like revealing things maybe that his lord doesn't want revealed. And he says, but that is Skulfin bastard. He'll get what's due to him. And we gave him a good seeing to recently. But the Lord will tell you more about it.
I'll wonder something about like wounded bears being even more savage, but I won't say it. And I'll give the man a approving look at that. He kind of catches himself gas bagging and then rights himself, and like, I'll let him see that I think that's that makes him worthy company to ride alongside. And I won't pry further along the way.
Yeah, you'll ride up that winding path, and you'll see that there's buildings on either side of it, like houses and things, that they're not like farmsteads, they're houses. And you come up to the walls of Headborg. They're made of stone, and your impression is they must be ancient, because they don't build walls out of stone anymore. They don't build anything out of stone anymore, really. Firstly, because stone is so expensive, but secondly, I don't think anyone knows how to do it anymore, and you don't think that either. They're not huge. They're not like Jotun walls. And it's really just this section here at the front. You can see this like stone wall and like a gate, like basically a stone courtyard. Because there's only one way into this this place, because around the sides of it, there's like a natural, basically sheer hill that has been worked by men to become even more steep. This is the only way in, it seems, anyway. The gate is open as it's the middle of the day, and you can ride in to this like stone courtyard out the other side, and into the town proper, the castle proper, I say. The rest of it is wooden palisades, and like beyond palisades, like wooden walls. You can see that there are like steps leading up to like a platform and things like that, a couple of towers. This is a castle. This is an impressive place. And you can see that inside here, there's like a blacksmith and a stables and things like that, and like steadings for people to live in. You can also see that there are men at training, doing drills of the shield wall. But also you can see that there's quite a few men like standing in the sidelines who are wounded. You see like lots of them with like leg injuries and hand injuries and things like that. These are all signs that they've recently been in a shield wall. Many of them have like sliced open thighs and things like that, and they're kind of like sitting outside watching and like shouting encouragement or like giving advice to those who are training. And your impression is that there's more wounded than not in this courtyard. The man will like lead you through and bring you to the stables, where a man, clean shaven, will approach. He'll take care of your horses. And he'll actually ask you, is there anything specific you want done with these horses? Do they have a special diet? Any special needs?
No beasts so special as that. But see that your stable boys check their hooves well. The swamp rot can set in. I do not wish to spread it to your good Jarl's Hall. Other than that, as long as they're washed and fed, you'll have my thanks. This for your trouble and for the boys, and he'll pull out some like broken fen rings and bits of hack silver. Like nothing special, but I'm sure for this man and his boys, enough to make sure they definitely don't mistreat the animals.
Thank you, Lord. I'll see that well taken care of. The man will then lead you to the keep, I guess you'd call it. It's like a pretty large wooden building. It's got like it looks like the bottom floor is stone, like the bottom level. into like this pretty heavy door that's really a gate, and then into this like tight corridor, and there's another like heavy wooden door at the end. Before you enter into this big long room, and there are like lots of tapestries hanging from walls. There's one you can see of like the world tree. There's one of the world serpent, of the gods of the Aesir and the Vanir and their war, and even one of Ragnarok and what will happen there. You can see an image of Thor fighting the world serpent, of Odin battling Fenja, and above it all, Surt with his sword about to destroy the world. You see these like things as you pass into this place, and your boots will like echo, as the ceiling is very high here, which is kind of unusual in this hall. Though there is no one in this hall, it's totally empty. At the end, there is, I guess you would call it a throne, like quite a large chair. Maybe it's been designed to not look like a throne, but it suggests a throne. He'll lead you to the back of that room, and then like knock, and you'll be brought into like a smaller chamber, an office really. There's like a desk, and there are books and things like that. And you can see that there's a man who looks suspiciously like Skjalvik, a scribe, obviously, like dressed in robes, with no beard and short hair. And he's like was prattling off to what is obviously the Lord. He'll see you arrive and stand. He's big, very tall, and has the build of a warrior. His beard has more grey than black in it at this stage, and his long hair is braided behind him. You are Skjalmod. I have been waiting to meet you. He'll take a step forward and offer his hand.
Hail, well met, Lord Godriksson. Skjalmok will say, then bow, and then walk forward to clasp the man's forearm.
No need for formality. You'll call me Einar, and I will call you Skjalmod. I feel that we are fast friends already. I've heard of your reputation.
And I yours. I'd be pleased to call you so, Einar.
Good. Good. It's very good that you have come. There's much to discuss. He looks to the floor for a moment and then back up. We'll have a feast this evening, and we can discuss properly. I'm dealing with, and he points over his shoulder towards the scribe. Administration, and he says that word in a way that makes you think that it's like a curse.
Like he'd rather get shot by an arrow than scribble with a quill.
He fucking hates it. But he obviously knows it's part of the job. We've a lot to think about at the moment. This evening we'll have a feast, and I'll be in better humor. We can discuss and catch up. I want to hear all about how you dealt with those frog spawns. But for now, I must deal with this. You have the hospitality of my hall. He excuse me. He points to the man who had brought you here. Hogan will take care of you. He'll put you up in the guest quarters. You can bathe there if you like, and eat, and we will meet properly this evening.
My men would be thankful to have their lice drowned, he'll say with a smile, trying to kind of perk the man's spirits up.
Yeah, he'll chuckle at that. Wouldn't we all?
I will leave you to your battle, Jarl, he'll say, looking across to the scribe and the stylus, and then back to him. But please, just a moment of your time before we leave your hall.
Yeah, he'll note the tone and nod. We can speak privately if you like.
No, my words for you here can be heard by my men and yours alike. It is not no secret thing. It is not a secret thing. He'll just put his hand on the hilt of his blade, but with one hand and with an open palm to the man's warriors. I'm not going to draw this steel. Don't worry. This blade, this finely crafted thing, my utmost thanks. You honor me so greatly, and send this with your messenger. How could I ignore the summons to come? Truly, it is a wondrous thing, and I am thankful.
For too many years, we have suffered through incursions of the fenfolk and endless lawlessness in the fens and outlaws, and there hasn't been anyone who has come to those fens who has done anything of use. And you are here less than a month, and in that month you have tamed the fenfolk and you have dealt with the outlaws. And that is impressive, and I am grateful for that fact.
Your thanks is not necessary. It is a lord's duty to see to the problems of his land and right them. If only I'd had this fine steel a week back, less men would be feasting in the in Odin's long hall.
No, but feasting they are, with all of their enemies who have pulled out a seat for them. And they feast upon the swine and the goat, and they drink endlessly of the mead, and they talk of old battles and battles to come. They've earned their place there, and we'll be with them someday.
I swear this blade would never be drawn against the people of Hedeborg, or any who call you lord. And I will, every time I draw it, remember the friendship that sprouted.
He looks at you for a moment and then can like tell that you're serious. And though he's kind of like boisterous and a little bit old, you can see that there is an intelligence there behind those eyes, and he'll nod at that. I'm glad to hear it. That is, it's moving, and it's comforting to know.
Now, if you'll allow us, we'll leave you to your toil and make ourselves presentable for your fine hall.
Yes, indeed. I've been in many battles, though none as gruesome as this. And he'll turn back towards the administration. I'll speak to you later.
He'll nod and bow again, and then like make his way out with his retinue.
So Hogwin like lead you through into that big hall again. There's a staircase. He'll like lead you up into the guest quarters. It's basically like a big dormitory with maybe 10 or so beds. And like opposite it, there are facilities for washing and like a sort of kitchen area and things like that. And there's a couple of servants and stuff up there who could take care of your armor and things like that. And he says, I'll be in the courtyard working, trying to get these little girls to learn how to fight in the shield wall. But if you have any need of me, Lord, my name is Hogan, simply ask.
My men have not trained for some weeks. They could use the exercise. It will give them an appetite for tonight. Would you mind?
No, of course not. He like looks, and by the time that you turn around, you wouldn't see it, Skjalmod, but I think that Halvar and Noki would see like Magni like roll his eyes like, fuck's sake, we've just gotten here and I'd love to sit down. But then he like turns and he's like, that sounds great.
Yeah, I will make sure that, like Blonde Magni and Skander's second and the others, I want them to go train to keep them from being idle, but more so to like show the warriors of Hedeborg the worth of the men of the Fens.
Yeah. They'll go down and they'll start like practicing with them, and they'll be you'll hear like shouts of encouragement and then some jeers and things like that, and it looks like they're holding their own, certainly. Yeah, and you can like get washed and dressed as best you can here in this place. It's quite comfortable, and they don't make you feel like you're in the way. They don't really hassle you. The servants are around, but they're not omnipresent, and they're like happy to let you take care of your own things. Is there anything you'd like to do in this like intervening like 2 or 3 hours before the feast comes?
I'll give Noki and Halvar leave to do whatever, but I definitely want to take the Jarl up and offer him a bath. That's like Skjalmod's guilty pleasure. It's like a scalding bath. That's it for me. What about you guys?
I'll make sure once Halvar and Magni and all that go out to train, that Noki comes up behind Halvar and puts hands on his shoulders and says to the whoever's in charge of the training, this is one of our fiercest. Make sure you put him up against someone. Give him your biggest, and he'll push him forward. And he's just going to hang back and watch the show.
Yeah,
the man. Go ahead.
I was going to say Halvar was going to go with blonde Magni, but it's at that moment that there's almost like this look of fear. It's not on his face, it's in his eyes as he turns and looks at Noki, and then he turns back and nods.
Yeah, you're like shoved forward, and the guy Hogan like sees the jet, and he can like tell, and he like smiles, and he like calls over his shoulder towards a man, and this man easily the size of Magni, so very, very tall, with like bushy black beard, and he's like heavy set. Magni is kind of like lanky. This guy is like big and heavy, like lumbers over. Boy, come on then. He like grabs you by the shoulder, Halvar, and like pulls you into the training square. He like picks up a big stick, like a staff basically, and hands you a shield and a wooden sword.
Yeah, he probably almost drops the wooden sword. There's so much sweat in his hands, and he's gripping it so tight that it almost slips out. And as it starts to slip, he kind of reaches down, grabs a handful of sand in his hand before gripping the haft of the sword. He's never swung a sword in his life, either typically using a spear or a hatchet. But he does his best as he squares off. I think probably immediately the larger, more experienced man would know that this boy before him does not know how to efficiently hold a shield, and let alone effectively hold a sword.
Yeah, he'll notice it, and he'll like a couple of times like poke the staff like at the top of your shield, and it'll like wobble a little bit. But as he like notices it, he like can see that you're struggling, and he doesn't humiliate you. Like he goes out of his way to like, rather than like trip you up or like knock you over and like laugh or whatever, he'll like go out of his way to be like, okay, raise that shield and like do this over here, and like point out tips and things like that. And like a bunch of the other men are like rolling their eyes like, oh, this fucking softy every time. But he like takes care to like show you some of the moves, and he's like, all right, if the man is big like me and I'm going to swing overhead like this, that's when you go for the thigh. And he'll like give you some explanations and stuff like that as you go. There's like a good natured sort of like ribbing that goes on. You know, like eventually when you like go for a swing and you overswing, he'll like step behind you and like jab the end of the staff into the back of your knee, and you like fall over, and then he'll like swing it and smack you on the arse with it, and then he'll like turn around, do like a bow, and everyone will do like a clap. But it's good natured, and it's not intended to like humiliate you.
Yeah, I think Halvar has a mixture of emotions. One, he's literally like a sponge, soaking up every suggestion this man makes, and that there's that bruise to his ego when he like overextends himself or gets a jab to the ribs. But I also think that Halvar would feel a failure if he didn't leave with some welts and bruises for this training. So he would probably push himself. Yeah,
and the man will notice that too, like that you're rather than like when being knocked over, you'll like get back up, and you continue to get back up. And he'll like, when you are getting back up, offer a hand and help you whenever that's the case. After a while, like you'll be covered in sweat, and so will the other man. Magni will like step forward and say, "All right, you've had enough. Pick on someone your own size," and they'll like separate and like begin training and stuff like that. And you'll see like Magni hold his own against this big man. and like a couple of others will like break off into separate groups and things like that, and you'll be given a little bit of rest, Halvar, to like watch and absorb the sponge some more. Skjalmod, there's no sweeter feeling on this earth than having a steaming hot bath. There's like this little chamber that's got no windows, or just like one arrow slit basically. So it's nice and warm, and there's like copious hot water in this deep bath that you can like sink all the way into, and you're left to your own devices there. What about Noki? What are you doing this time? Are you just watching the fight outside?
Yeah, Noki's relaxed watching them. As soon as Halvar takes his break, he'll sit beside him and offer him some water or some water down mead or something. And he'll point out as Magni's fighting. Maybe Magni's got a bit of a bum knee or something, or some stance that he's just slightly unbalances him, and he'll point it out. Maybe not Magni, maybe one of the less experienced that are training.
Yeah.
He'll point it out how to kind of look out for these things.
So time will go by pretty quickly, and then with an hour left before the feast, you're sent inside to like wash and clean yourselves because you can't be coming to a feast steaming. And so you can like get clean, braid your hair, and make yourselves ready for the feast at the nighttime. The hall that you walked through earlier has been like done up, like tapestries hung high, and like bunting put up, a fire lit in the center of the hall, and like decorations on the tables and things like that. There's like a band in here, like a big drum and like a fiddle, and a couple of other instruments, who will like play music throughout the evening as the food is brought out. As the like first course is brought, it's like this simple bit of like creamy soup and crunchy bread. The Jarl will stand up. It's a joyous day. We've had hardships of late. It can be hard. Scotland's hard country. There's nowhere harder than Asbloth. We know that. And a bunch of the men around are like nodding. It feels sometimes like there are enemies everywhere that a man looks. Sometimes, when you look in the right direction, you can see a friend, kindred spirit. Now, I don't know this man yet. I've barely met him. But by his reputation and his actions, I believe that there is a friendship here. And so we drink to the foundation of a long-lasting friendship. Like,
Skål!
And everyone will cheer to that, and will like bang on the tables, and like already intermingling and enjoying themselves. And after that, like the music will turn back on again, and like there'll be much merriment, and he'll sit next to you, Skjalmod.
Too kind, my lord. My thanks. He'll like raise the mead horn and like swill the rest of it.
I am old for this land, anyway. And in my years, I have learned that there is no point in dancing around a subject. I have need of a friend, and I admire the things that you have done so far. I hope it won't seem dishonest. I had my scribe look into you, and your service to the king is well recorded. And beyond that, what you have done in the past month in the Fens, you've done more work in that month than many of the lords who have stayed there have done in years. It's not going unnoticed. And so, as I say, I don't dance around the issue. I want an ally, and I want a friend.
We're of one mind. I too respect the sure thrust rather than the Tainish dance.
I have had a long-standing agreement with the Jarl Godriksson, a alliance of necessity. Truth be told, I can't stand the man. I think he's slimy. I say that now because I know none of his men are here. Not something I can say loudly, for he has a great many men. He has a great deal of money. He has a great many allies in Sodafjord.
I know well enough. I may even have seen a few of his eels wriggling their way through the fens.
He has approached many of my thanes and gifted them gold. I imagine it won't be long before he does that to yours also. He tries to create an image of generosity, and he is generous. But it's easy to be generous when you have so much money.
Could be argued it's not generosity at all. I would rather the cloak off a poor man's back than one of 10 gold rings from a fat man's fingers.
Quite so. Barely generosity, more of a bribe. Nonetheless, I cannot afford to make an enemy of him now that we have this Skulfin thug who has made a home to our east. They say
Do you not
that
worry Flokison would send gold to this man too? Surely a cunning man would bankroll the enemies of his rivals, if he's willing to bankroll dissent amongst his thanes.
it has crossed my mind, but I cannot prove it. Not yet. I think it's worth looking into, and I think it's likely, even. This Ranek, he speaks of a great war in the north, and that a great many Skulfin lords have been displaced. A great many lords of Northern Athblood have been displaced. That some tyrant sweeps down from the Painted Cliffs.
The Flame Sower, I've heard of his reputation.
The very same. Now, this Ranek was one of his, and he has come down here, I believe, to investigate, to get rich, to get fat, who knows. Nonetheless, it cannot stay. This is no land for Skulfin reavers and those who pay for everything with steel. It's no good, and I cannot abide it. But I cannot send all of my men in that direction and leave none of them here.
The sheep's skin can only stretch so far.
Exactly. But if we had more men, if I knew that my border was safe, well, we could look into something.
You can trust well that the fenfolk, my folk, know their borders well, and are not trespassers or traipsers of other lords' lands. Though safety, that is a different thing. I can guarantee that I would not let your enemies pass through my land but by my leave. But, truth be told, my lord, I have less than 30 men. Twice that in recruits, training. It'll be a year or more before they are ready for battle, and half will fall in the first test. I'm not sure what I can offer you but words.
What indeed? You're a friend of the king?
Indeed. I spoke to one of your southern thanes on the way here, promised him that I would send word to the king, beseeching him on your behalf for intervention and aid in this matter.
Horik told you, I suppose, everything.
As much as he could. My ears were near over full, lord.
That is Horik. He makes me a great deal of money. He says sort of like apologetically.
To have a golden goose is to have many enemies desire it, lord.
Quite so. Well, here's what I suggest, Skjalmod. I have recently lost a son, my only son, my eldest son.
I have heard, Lord. I grieve for you. I have no son, so cannot imagine your loss. But nonetheless, I grieve.
Mine is an old family, a legacy. There is a lot there. I don't want that to die with me.
I have no daughters, no sisters, if that. And he's like kind of prodding through the. Is he asking for a wife via line or something? Because I cannot offer him that.
No, I have daughters.
Why not,
Good.
why not take another wife, Lord? You still seem to have oak in the trunk.
I have a wife.
I see, he says, and we'll say nothing more of that.
There is a war is a young man's game, I believe, Skjalmod, and I've grown very tired of the game. I spent all of my life playing that game. In great battles, I have fought in great battles with thousands of men. And then in a border skirmish, my son dies to some Iskulfin maniac. I have lost all taste for it, if I'm honest.
The Norns are cruel, Lord. The gods will understand your grief and hatred of war.
I don't know if I can face it again, though I know I have to. I have men, you have some. If we combined these things, I believe that you are a talented strategist, and I believe that you have powerful allies. I believe that if we combine what I have and what you have, we can defeat this Rannick, and then we can turn our eyes upon the scion of the fat.
At that, Skjalmod looks about the table, and I think at this point he probably is unaware how much he's been lulled into this feeling of security and friendship and camaraderie with the man, and is probably like a little more loose here, like shooting from the hip than he normally would. But he's going to look about just to make sure that only Noki and Halvar next to him are within hearing distance of what he's about to say, and if he thinks it's the right moment, he'll speak further.
Yeah, you'll see that. I would say that both Halvar and Noki are like in conversation with people on the other side of them, and on the other side of Einar, his men are also like chatting away to some of yours.
I'll lean in close with like a smile on my face as if I'm telling him a bawdy joke and lift like the meat up in front of me so that if any spies or knaves here were trying to lip read me, I'd avoid that and say to him in like this hissing tone, the words just come like spilling out like a gut wound, and he'll say, 2 months back, Flokison came to my lands uninvited for a feast of which he partook no small amount. He overstepped himself and assaulted the sister of one of my bondsmen. For that his blood was drawn, satisfaction was demanded, to which he denied me and fled with his tail between his legs. I thought the wound was sealed. He offered gifts in friendship and apology that seemed sincere. Though there was a barb to the bee, he wished for the head of this bondsman who'd offended him so. Mind you, a cut from a knife of a boy of 13. Not even a scar. Of course I would not give the lad's head to him. It would go against my oath to my own men. To pay me back for my defiance, he sent a band of thugs into mine own land, took the woman that he had desired and attempted to rape, and there did his fell work upon her, and not once, but more, and then beat her and send her back to the town. while my own army was in the north dealing with the fenfolk. The same fenfolk who no doubt had scourged his lands before I came to scour them clean. He is my enemy by every law there is, God's law, men's law, nature's law. Vengeance burns hot within me, Lord.
He nods at that, although follows your ruse, and at the end will laugh. It's a good one.
I'll hang him by his guts and kill every kid he has ever whelped. I'll have his own men for my own, or see them in the dirt, choking. Hear the screams of their women, and be pleased at the fires that I sow in the south there, though I must wait. It is because of his cunning and because of his poison that it shames me to say I would fear to go northwest to this Rannoch, leave my own people so undefended. I would forget my oaths to them, Lord. I say this not to wriggle out of what you propose, but so that we are of an understanding. There is no fat, wobbling merchant we deal with. He is a wolf.
I understand perfectly what you say, and I feel what you feel. He has wronged me also. But you are right. You cannot leave this wolf at the door and wander out.
If I send my men to fight Rannoch, which I am not loath to do, what can I tell their widows? Especially if the wolf would come prowling through the fens thereafter, with no little bondsman to defend my own folk. Though I fear if I wait for when my fears are raised, the Skjalvik may have carved out more a toehold, and the fat wolf gifted more of your own thanes.
It is a delicate situation, one I have no stomach for. We cannot openly call Flokison to war because he has more men than we do. And they're finely equipped in bright mail, gunnish steel.
And when he hears that I have visited you and pieces out that we are friends, he will work to sow discord between us.
Then perhaps a deception. Maybe we are not friends. Though I'd have it known that we are. And it's very hard to keep this many mouths quiet.
Impossible, Lord.
And I would be loath to lie to my own men. And I believe you would be too.
He nods, thinking for a brief moment of the lie that he told to Gunnar.
I don't know what the answer here is, Skjalmod. I think with aid from the king, maybe there's something to be done. But if we bring the king's men, then Flokison brings men from Skjalfjord, and the king calls in a favor, and then the Skjalfjord Jarls call in a favor, and then we have a war of tens of thousands.
And then all the better for the Skjalfin, as the southern lords are at their own throats.
Exactly. I have 2 daughters. I have it's a silly thing, but it's an old thing. A dowry would be necessary. It's the way my family has always worked. And I don't want cattle. I don't want gold. What I want is an heirloom. It was lost a long time ago, north. By about a week's travel. There are mountains, and there, my great-grandfather, Odd Godriksson, They wrote a saga about him, and you would know that about this man.
I have heard it, Lord, and he'll quote like the choicest portion from it.
He searched there for the feather of a great eagle and the scale of a dragon so he could wed a giantess. But they say that he died there. They found something else but lost his life, and that he lost the great blade of our family. It has been there a long time. And my grandfather and my father never sent men to look, and I never had time. If I'm to be the last man of this line, then I would wish that blade returned to the line at least, so that any sons that my daughters bring can have that blade. If you go and get that blade and bring it to me, you can have your pick of my daughters, and we'll drink the oath mead, and we'll swear that we are brothers. And after that, there's nothing that I won't do to see that this is a victory, that you and I someday will sit and laugh as that monster's castle burns around him and he dies with no tongue, no eyes, no ears, no hands, and he will wander that way in the mists of hell.
For this great prize you have given me, he'll like pat the blade at his side. I will gladly go and attempt to retrieve the blade of your forebears. You need not offer me the flesh, like the one of your heirs, as recompense for that. I would do it freely, alone, just for this gift, and so swear it here if it's within my power. While I'm in your lands, I will go to this place. You can see that you are sorely beset here. And busied, so I can understand when a man grows old, he thinks back to his past, which makes him reflect on what will come after. I know the import of this. I have men skilled at finding. He'll like kind of look over to Noki, who's like probably feign laughing at one of these warriors' jokes, or like enjoying some food, and then he'll look back to the Jarl, serious faced.
It is
All
because...
you've heard of me so far is tales, but with this deed, it will prove the mettle of the people of Skjalvik.
And let it be so.
And if your daughter would have me, then I will have her. But I'll not take a wife forcibly.
Nor would I let you.
Oh, sorry. I meant as in like for him to tell her to marry me.
Yeah. He's kind of agreeing with you, like that she would, that he's got two, and like one of them surely will make that decision. He'll nod and he'll say it's because of these qualities, and that you would go anyway. That's why I'm certain I've made a good decision.
I confess to you, my lord, that I believe the king gifted me these lands because it serves his purpose more than it serves me as reward. Every man who dies in defiance of his lord's enemies is protecting that lord's life. So in a way, I have done nothing that hundreds of thousands before me had done. I believe he set me in Skjalvik so that if the lords of Sjödefud or Outblot would rise up against him by striking me, he would have cause to bring his armies across the sea and spill into this land, as he did in Outblot the year past. I fought your people there, but I do not hold them as enemies, doing only as my king commanded. But if you and the others of Outblot can show your loyalty to the king, in conjunction with an alliance between us, he would set another ally upon the board, the great Hrafnatafel board that we play, as you mentioned earlier. I do not think the king foresaw this trouble in the north, however, I believe it was his intent to lure the lords to attack me and give him cause that he may bring further war and consolidate his reign here, bring stability once more to the region, as it was in the age of the first king. But he could not have known of the flame sower's success when I was gifted this land. So now I feel his plan may work against him, for if war does break out between us in the south, it serves no one but the flame sower, who is our true enemy, if all of the tales have truth in them.
It's a complicated tapestry that's been woven here, and I'm no great weaver. When I'm faced with a knot, I cut it with a sword. That's how I've always lived my life, and I don't know any other way. There is great merit to what you say. If we all start fighting each other here, we've the path wide open for this sower of flames and the hounds that follow with him.
The best medicine is the bitterest. Though, even as the thought comes, it shames me to give it voice. But peace with the wolf? To save the South? Is that something you could stomach? And he says that in the tone that relays to him, I don't actually think I could.
Peace with the Escolfin?
Peace with the fat wolf.
He pinches the bridge of his nose. I'm not certain that I could. He drums his fingers on the table.
This knot may not be unbound by the cutting of it, Lord.
No, it might require some more delicate work and perhaps some more delicate thinking.
My thoughts exactly. Perhaps we can both ponder this in the time between now and when my men and I return with the blade of your father.
Yes. That's a good idea. And I think another good idea would be to get incredibly drunk. And he's got this frown on his face, he's really considering if that's a good idea. And he kind of nods to himself. My head is full of webs and tapestry. I need to shake it and smash those webs. Maybe I'll flood them. Skull.
Skull, my lord, but the fine mead doesn't taste so good as it did when he first supped it.
Is there anything Halvar or Naki would like to get up to while they're here at this feast?
Yeah, I think there would be a moment. Probably wouldn't be a long one for Halvar. When he first gets there in the feasting hall, the first thing he would do is look for the man from the training ground, the larger man, heavyset man, and he would approach him. And if he's talking with others, he would have that kind of that awkward standing just on the periphery, waiting for a moment until maybe either the man sees him or not necessarily knowing the proper way to interject himself into this conversation.
Yeah, I guess he'd be telling some sort of bawdy tale, and he's and then he shot, and everyone's bah! And he would see you hovering. Well,
there's an awkward laugh from Halvar as he hears the end of this joke, as he laughs along, and then he cuts it short. He says, "I beg your pardon, but I would know your name."
Grim.
He would nod and smile, and he would say, "I am Halvar Freyson."
first, son. Some big
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah, he looks down. He says, "Truth be told, I do not know my father. Is what my mother had always told me. I am often embarrassed to say it to anyone, but you showed me a kindness to show me." And he would just kind of look off in the direction of the training grounds.
Don't stammer over your words, boy. Come and sit. And he puts his hand on the shoulder of the man next to him and just bodily shoves him down to scooch up a space for you.
Yeah, and that's what he would do. And then you would fade on his scene when he'd say, "So he shat himself, huh?" And that's where he'd probably.
Yeah, perfect. Anything for Nocky before we close out?
No, Nocky's just enjoying the festivities. He's challenged Magni to an arm wrestling competition, and he's getting everyone to place bets. Obviously, they're all going for Magni, who is a much larger man, clearly the warrior. But when they go to arm wrestle, when Nocky starts to feel that strain on his arm, he reaches under the table and grabs Magni by the balls and gives him a squeeze and slams Magni's hand onto the table. Stands up, proclaims himself the victor, gathers up all the hack silver, and then proclaims that anyone else who can beat Magni can have it all, knowing that very few people are going to have that chance.
Magni squeals from the pain, and then afterwards looks at you and is chuckling to himself. And he'll spend most of the night battering people in arm wrestling contests. And at the end of the night, he'll approach you and he'll say, "I'll at least take my winnings back. Good man."
That's fair. And he'll hand them back over and then give him another squeeze by the balls as he does so.
So the festivities go on for most of the night, and it's jovial and friendly, and their friendships forged quickly. And it's mostly sort of idyllic for those who aren't at the Lord's table. For Skjalmod and for Einar, there are tough decisions ahead and much to be discussed. For Einar's part, he'll drink more than he should with the intent of getting himself sloshed enough so he doesn't have to think about the many things he has to think about for now. And that's where we're going to leave it today. So thanks very much, guys. I had a really fun time. And thanks for watching if you did. See you next time.